For Professor Peter Høj, scientific curiosity began while cleaning the floors of his father's fish shop in Copenhagen.
I remember this very clearly. It was 1967, so I was 10 years old. I observed some blood on the floor, and under those blood clots, the floor was beautifully white. And I said to my dad, "Why is that?" And he said, "I think it's something called enzymes." And I thought, I got to figure out what an enzyme is.
He would go on to study biochemistry. While working in fundamental research at Denmark's Carlsberg laboratories, he met an Aussie girl.
We both got our PhDs and got married, had children, and decided to move to Australia.
Professor Høj was named one of Australia's top biochemists under 40 and was soon tapped to join the University of Adelaide as Australia's first Professor of Viticultural Science.
And one of the reasons why you appreciate Australian wine is it's incredibly rare that you buy a bad product. We understand so much about the underlying science in Australia that we virtually get it right every time.
His love for the application of science saw Professor Høj lead the Australian Wine Research Institute and then the Australian Research Council before being named President and Vice-Chancellor of the University of South Australia.
When you're fortunate enough to go into large universities, you realise how much talent there is. And whilst I might be missing doing my own science, I know that if I can improve the working conditions for the 1,500 other people who are equally good at it, then my impact is much greater than it is as a singular scientist.
Boosting research talent was also his priority while leading the University of Queensland to a top 50 global university. And now, upon his return to South Australia, as Vice-Chancellor of the University of Adelaide.
We have a very, very low gross expenditure on research in Australia, and mostly because industry and business is not investing enough in research.
Professor Høj says that's one of the key reasons international students are so important.
It would be fair to say that international students are so keen to get an Australian education that they are prepared to pay fees that actually greater than what you get from an Australian student. And that fee differential is something that actually underpins much of the research that we're doing in Australia.
He describes it as a major win when some of those students decide to make Australia their permanent home, just as he once did. Professor Høj has been named a Fellow of the Australian Academy of Science in recognition of his distinguished contribution to society.